All right, NAI football fans, we are back and actually live this week with another edition of the NAIAFBALL podcast. Thanks to everyone for going and watching last week, even though it was late, and I still acted like it was a live show and still made just as many mistakes and was too lazy to edit. But, oh well, we're back live, and we have the band back together. Thanks also to UEN doing a great job. Yop. With the streams this year. Looking forward to watching them come down the stretch run and into the playoffs, have everything in one place. Matt, it'll be weird, but there'll be no need for me to put a viewing guy because all the games will be in the same darn place.
Yeah, makes it nice and convenient. And I got to tell you, man, they're doing a great job, not just with this, but like crossover season. They have been on top of it. Got to shout out UEN, man. They're doing great work.
All right, Matt. We had a few good games this week. It felt like this was the calm before the storm a little bit as we go into these last 2 weeks where we're going to decide conference and division winners, and it feels like all the schedule makers backloaded the schedule of the last 2 weeks with games to decide conference championships. Makes for great last 2 weeks, but boy, it sure did leave a little bit to be desired this week. As did Indiana Wesleyan and Taylor's defenses. Because that was that's 104 points between the two of them.
Yeah, I made a note on my Twitter this weekend as I was watching the score just continue to go up on this one. Both these teams combined for over 800 yards of offense in one half of football. I mean, truly astounding stuff. And the fact that they kept going, granted, it was a bit slower in the second half. You know, the defenses settle in. They are able to do a bit more. But my goodness, man, talk about a shootout. Indiana Wesleyan coming away with the win here. 5 touchdowns from your quarterback and over 400 yards passing will certainly do it, especially when Drew Dutton's catching 5 of those for 161 yards and 3 touchdowns. Kind of interesting for Indiana Wesleyan that they weren't super high clip on 3rd and 4th down, which means that the big plays were hitting on their early downs. And it was pretty obvious the way they were operating. They were not aiming to go 3 plays and get a first down. They were gunning for the end zone pretty much every single time they touched the ball.
And honestly, that's not a bad way to play Taylor because Taylor really wants to play keep away football. I mean, you look at 29 attempts for 247 for Nathan Parker, and the fact that your starting quarterback went 6 for 14. Now, granted, there was another quarterback in there. Hockett got back in there. It looks like he might be returning to full duty soon. But he played a little bit in the middle 8 of the game, but not a whole lot other than that.
It really seemed like they were easing Hockett back into it, especially coming off a shoulder injury from what the broadcast had mentioned. He was running the ball a lot, though. They pretty much exclusively brought him in as their option guy, which ended up working. Like I saw him score 1 or 2 times, like doing that stuff. But really interesting to get him reintegrated into the system, especially if it's a bum shoulder. You know, him running the ball. I mean, that's a lot of contact. But clearly, they are confident enough in where he's at. He clearly didn't have any issues when he was out there. Just a really interesting situation in the quarterback room for Taylor to keep an eye on.
Yep, absolutely. And as we stay within the mid-states, we just adjust to the other side. And, Matt, I got to tell you, I was a little disappointed in Olivet Nazarene that 30-22 includes a late score by the Tigers to get it within reasonable distance. But this was a game at St. Francis on Military Appreciation Day in honestly pretty sweet uniforms, dominated from the jump.
Yeah, I mean, this was Olivet Nazarene, their biggest test in a while from what we've seen on their schedule. And to see St. Francis come out the way they did and get after them, Joshua Kolka going for 288, 2 touchdowns, and Azaria Wallace also on the ground, that 2-pronged attack that is so so important to NAIA teams being able to have a balanced offense. I feel like far too often we're seeing teams where it's just pass or just run. Being able to mix it in there will obviously help. On top of the fact that your defense was absolutely balling out.
Yeah, absolutely. And the crazy part is with the great defensive production, all of it Nazarene still almost went 50% on third and fourth down. So they were able to claw back a little bit, but I mean, there's only so many times you're going to be able to claw back. You're facing third and fourth down 24 times during a ball game. Tells me you're getting to late downs and distances pretty often, and you can only dig yourself out of that hole so many times. Honestly, this might provide, really, and we talked about this last week, a way for St. Francis to get back into the playoffs. We'll have to see if they're able to do it in an at-large spot underneath Marion. Now, another kind of at-large play in game here in the KCAC, where again there was no defense. McPherson 53, Southwestern 40. Now, I do want to point out that I think it was Joe Smythe for Southwestern that also returned 2 kick return touchdowns along with his receiving and rushing touchdowns. So good for 4 touchdowns on the game. But Jaleel Brown, 45 attempts, and that's some Trent Richardson kind of numbers.
Yeah, I mean, when he's busting out 6 yards plus a carry, I mean, is there really anywhere else to go with the ball in all fairness? Granted, Ryan Markkinen did a great job throwing for 2 touchdowns, but that was certainly opened up by the fact that Jaleel Brown was getting the ball pretty much every single play.
Yeah.
And along with 41, 3 touchdowns rushing on the day. These are the performances we've honestly come to expect from Jaleel Brown and this McPherson team. He's been carrying them, and it hasn't not worked. So,
Right.
why fix what isn't broken? I've been really impressed with Jaleel Brown. He's got to have a case for year of the year, at least some mention or capacity at this point.
Yeah, he's got to be at least in the conference picture. But the problem
Yep.
is that you've also got a guy on the same side of the division as you that in the last couple of weeks has come out just doing the same sort of stuff, and that's DeHeaven Domina. And no, I mean that's not as good. 41 attempts, 191 yards in the last 2 games. He's had 80-plus carries between the 2 games. Last week he was our player of the week, and he had like 43, 45 carries. But I'm going to tell you on this one, those 3 interceptions are going to kill any impact the running game had, and Friends just continues to mow down any sort of competition placed in front of them.
At some point in the season, Corey, I have to take a good, honest look at this Friends team, and I have to look at their schedule, and I have to look who they've played and how they've beaten them. And I have to wonder how many other teams in the country right now are doing it like the Friends Falcons. I don't think many, if any, in the way that they're winning these contests. I mean, a very respectable Kansas Wesleyan team that's receiving votes or was receiving votes last week in the top 25. You beat them 63-6. I mean, your closest game all season has been like by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah.
At what point do we just have to accept that this is the real deal? I mean, they are leading the country in almost every offensive category that is related or incorporates rushing in some capacity. And I'll tell you what, they are also first in the country in average yards per attempt through the air.
Well,
which, yeah.
sure.
But man, I legitimately this Friends team nationally is among one of the best, and I am itching to see these guys in the playoffs. We saw them against Grandview last year, give them all they could handle. And the fact that this team is kind of coming back around and gearing up for another run here, 9-0 through the toughest stretch of their schedule. Whew, I don't know, man. I got my eyes all over this Friends team.
Look, we've been high on Friends all year long.
Mhm.
They have not disappointed. They have been every bit of what we expected, and they're one of only a few teams that have been every bit of what we expected.
Truthfully.
I think Montana Tech being the only other team that has crushed expectations in the same vein.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, absolutely incredible. And then the game in which the technology fails me. All right. Bethel, yes, pulls the upset 26-23. These stats here are through 4 quarters because in as much as I really do like Presto and think that it's not terrible, it was terrible for the SIDs in that they were not able to get stats up for overtime. That is not on the SIDs. Unfortunately, this one lies with the scoreboard. But we can kind of tell you a little bit about it, and that is that Bethel pretty much owned this game from the jump, and it was a Herculean effort by Bethel to get down and score to send it to overtime. The defense takes over in overtime, forces the field goal, and then gets the touchdown. Just an absolute. It wasn't a dominating game. It went to overtime. Of course, it wasn't dominating, but it was as good as I've seen Bethel play against quality competition in 2 years.
Yeah. There were certainly times in this game, probably over the entire course of the game, they weren't dominating the entire time, but there were stretches of this game where Bethel looked leagues ahead of Georgetown. And there were points this game where it's like this is the best this team has looked all season, far and away. They have gotten back on the horse after kind of the less than ideal start to their season that they would have wanted. In Georgetown too, now racking up a third loss because of course things can never be easy at this point in the year for anybody. But we mentioned the Mid-South being top heavy this year, and I feel like that's just slowly, week by week, being more proven by the fact that you have teams like Georgetown losing to Bethel. You have Campbellsville and Cumberland in this mix. You have Lindsey Wilson in this mix. Like, they're kind of frontiering it up. You know what I mean?
The frontier chaos has fully moved east and taken residence in the Mid-South. I was just about to say that, and you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yep.
So then what does this mean for our media poll? Well, last week, we noted that we had a little bit of erosion for Grandview, and that continues to occur. And that number is 5 out of 9. Kaiser has 2 first-place votes. Benedictine has a first-place vote, and Friends has a first-place vote. Now, what this means in actuality is because of how that rejigger had to occur, that Kaiser and Benedictine have swapped spots. And Kaiser, for the first time all season, where they match where they are in the coaches poll at number 2. So Grandview 1, Kaiser 2, Benedictine 3, Montana Tech 4, Friends 5, and then you've got literally a 29-point difference between Friends at 5 and Marion at 6. It is stark out there. Montana Tech, Friends, Marion, Dort, all hold serve there. Lindsey Wilson, Carroll at 8 and 9, each up a spot. Ottawa of Arizona rises 3 spots. Morningside up 1. Indiana Wesleyan down 1. Some of this rejiggering affecting them. Campbellsville up 1 to 13. College of Idaho up 2 to 14. Southeastern holds serve at 15. McPherson up 1 to 16. William Penn up 3 to 17. A couple of big winners here. Evangel up 4 to 18. St. Thomas bouncing back 4 to 19. Then we've got Montana Western up 3 to 20. Now, those 4 big movers have paved the way here. St. Francis back in at 21. Georgetown and Southwestern tied at 22nd. Georgetown down 4, Southwestern down 3. Texas Wesleyan and Baker rounded out, both up 1. Olivet Nazarene drops out of the poll. So we don't have as many receiving votes teams, and so we don't have that drop off at 24-25 as much as we did last week and the week before. There's definitely chaos lingering on the horizon around that bottom 5, as both Texas Wesleyan and Baker have chances this week to earn playoff spots from those 24 and 25 slots that could steal bids from some other folks that are also worthy. But at this point, there's some teams that I'm looking at, like St. Thomas and Georgetown, and Southwestern, that are right now on the outside looking in, mostly because of the fact that you've got some great teams ahead of you. You've lost late, and you've got an AAC champion that you've got here to crown, but there's no AAC team in the top 25. So I'm not going to label them a bid thief because the AAC has an auto bid. But right now, Reinhardt is in the driver's seat, and Reinhardt is nowhere to be found on our receiving votes.
Mm-hmm. And I think you mentioned it too, with 21 through 25 being is volatile the right word to use there?
Yeah.
I think it is. But also, not to mention, we almost had some other chaos in the top 10 this week, with Dort only beating Hastings by 1 score. Carroll telling Frontier Chaos to go screw itself, basically, in the most impressive last-second win I've ever seen. It's going to be really interesting down the stretch, especially with Dort playing the likes of Morningside. Like, I'm really curious to see the shape some of these 5 through 15 teams are in by the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to be just chaos coming down the stretch, and I am here for it. Well, we will be back with more after a word from our friends from AdCraft.
So you want to create and sell custom merch for your team or business. That's exciting, but where do you begin? How much inventory should you order? How do you distribute orders? AdCraft has your answers. Streamline the way you offer custom merch by utilizing our risk-free web store service. We ship directly to each customer, and we have the fastest turnaround in the game. Raise funds for your team or get merch to your employees and patrons. Contact AdCraft today, and let's bring your merch to life.
They are so fantastic at doing that. We talk about them week in, week out. We've been, we haven't been great about giving them the props at the beginning of the show, mostly because we've been just too darn excited to get to the actual football because it's been so darn good. That doesn't mean that AdCraft is any less good. Check them out. Gonna be working on some stuff here, hopefully within the next week, to get our show on the road here. So thank you to AdCraft for sponsoring us for this many years. Thank you also to Connor Darnell, does great design work for us, makes our visual look, can make your visual look as well. Graphic designs, bag tags, he can make it happen. Contact him for any of that artsy goodness. On to the players of the week. And Matt, well, I'm going to disagree just a little with the NAI here. I see some of their choices, and they're not bad choices. I just disagree. It's not on offense on the players of the week, where Xavier Malone from UPike put up some video game numbers yet again. My guy is going to have to live in an ice tub come January because his shoulder has gotten to work out week in, week out.
Yeah, just a guy who's been absolutely balling out for UPike. 43 completions.
Right?
Is absurd. That's a school record for them for sure.
Yes, because it was an AAC record as well, if I remember correctly.
I mean, not just throwing for 6 touchdowns and accounting for, 36 total points through the air. The fact that you are connecting with your targets that often, it's baffling. Video game numbers, like you said. It's just hard to quantify, truthfully.
Now, Indiana Wesleyan fans, I get it. Your guy had a really good game. I had his stat line up for hours. But I got to go with Caden Thomas from Culver Stockton. 8 tackles, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, a pick 6, and a QB hurry. I do love a good stat sheet stuffer. And and one where you're changing the scoreboard as well. I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean, Culver Stockton, I feel like a team we haven't been able to talk a whole lot about.
Right.
But in this contest against Central Methodist, I mean, the fact that you're putting up those numbers when the opposing team is still putting up points on you, like you are at least producing, and it was more than enough for the fact that you win by multiple scores. You put up 60 to 43 was Culver Stockton's final score against Central Methodist there, and a very impressive win. But like you said, stat sheet stuffer, being able to get it done in all phases of the defensive side of the ball. That warrants some celebration. I think I'm with you here, Corey.
Yep. Moving on here to the play call of the week. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it, and I'm gonna pause here if I can. Darn technology. One, that's a new formation for me, Matt. I've seen the pistol.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen the pistol like with a wishbone back there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a new one. I think that's a fullback up there. You said this was like some sort of inverted eye pistol look or some such?
Yeah, I think truthfully what's happening here is they got a back in the pistol formation and they have a second running back in a more traditional shotgun lineup, but he's cheating his alignment. It's just very obvious from the side view.
Yeah. Yeah. So, one, if this is going to be the play call of the week, we gotta acknowledge the formation here. You got a guy in motion. Honestly, we know where this run's going.
Yeah, I have an idea.
But let's keep going. No, stop it.
Can't even wait.
I know, right? Acting like a fullback just pops through Jaleel Brown.
Like I said, man, we've been talking about Jaleel Brown a lot, but for his team to set that up like that and have, a fullback inserting for you the motion, being able to create movement on the defense when they already know who's getting the ball, that's pretty good. That's good stuff right there.
Yep, that's a case of I'm going right there. You can't stop me.
Mm-hmm.
Imposition of the will. I love a good that's man's football right there.
Yep. I'm better than you, and I'm gonna show you.
So, what to watch for this week? We have a couple of different what to watch for scenarios here. This one is our traditional what to watch for. Dordt Concordia. That one's going to be a fun game. Concordia can play spoiler for Dordt as they, will have to play against Morningside. Maybe a little bit of a look ahead game for the defenders. Benedictine Baker. Baker can play spoiler to Benedictine technically. However, Baker's in the driver's seat, as weird as that sounds. We'll explain that in a moment. Carroll versus College of Idaho, an absolutely huge game on that side of the frontier. Ottawa against Texas Wesleyan, again, games that we'll get to those more in a moment, along with Kaiser Southeastern. Now, we have a total of 10 games that can clinch playoff spots this week. It's fantastic. I deleted my notes, so I'm going to see if I can remember all of these from scratch, because there's a couple, 2, 3 of them that are yes but games.
Yeah.
Reinhardt Point. Reinhardt can win outright because they do have a win there against U Pike. Pretty sure. Let me. No, they go on and play U Pike. But U Pike already has a loss. So even if they were to lose to U Pike but win against Point, they still win the appellation. They technically would share the title, but the NAI likes to share. But no, Reinhardt would be the winner. Frontier East, Montana Tech can win outright at Dickinson State this week. Carroll College of Idaho is a win and you're in. Both of them are 4-0. The winner of the game, even if they lost, the next game would still have the tiebreaker on the other. And so this would clinch the playoff berth. There's a reason this says playoff berth clinching games and not conference championship clinching games, because some of that would be yet to be determined. Grandview, Culver Stockton, that one is an open and shut case. Grandview wins it with a win. Benedictine Baker. If Baker wins, they take the auto bid. If Benedictine wins, they need a Mid-American Nazarene loss this week to clinch the conference championship. If Mid-America wins, it goes to next week where Benedictine plays Mid-Am.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Friends, Sterling, obviously. Friends wins and they're in. Friends has wins against McPherson and Kansas Wesleyan, which are the two teams in front of them. So even if you were to lose your last game, win Sterling, and you've got it all sewn up. On the other side, in the Kessinger, Evangel's got wins over Ottawa and Bethany, which are your 1-1 teams. You get a win over Bethel, and I think it's either Tabor or Avila that they play the last week of the season, which are further down in the table. So win, and you've got it. Mid-South gets a little messy, as it is wont to be. Campbellsville, Bethel. There are 3 teams at 3-1, 2 teams at 2-2. If Bethel wins, I got to retake my notes here. Bethel plays Lindsey Wilson. So if Bethel wins, they have to have a Lindsey Wilson loss in order to take the Mid-South. Campbellsville can win outright if they win, because they would then have wins over Lindsay and Bethel. Their only loss was to Cumberland, who is at 2-2. Ottawa and Tex West. Now, this is to say neither of the mid-states can clinch this week. They're going to the last week. I think the winner. This is the same case as Carroll College of Idaho. The winner of this game, I think, is going to have it. Actually, Tex West gets it with a win. Ottawa, if they win, would also have to have a Louisiana Christian loss, as they play Louisiana Christian at the end of the season. So this is more like Benedict and Baker.
Mm.
And then Kaiser Southeastern is a straight draw there, because Southeastern does have the one loss to Florida Memorial. So Kaiser has wins over Southeastern and Florida Memorial. So if they win, it's all theirs. And if they lose, then I get to start looking up tiebreaker procedures, which is...
That's always the fun one.
That is absolutely the fun one here. And I feel like even discussing that and pulling that out, I've lost, a couple of the non-nerdy people. But it's going to be fun, Matt. We have some good games this week that aren't on the radar.
Yeah. I was going to say Olivet Nazarene St. Xavier is one I'm all over this weekend. Can Olivet Nazarene bounce back? Will the surging St. Xavier keep rolling like they have been? Really curious to see that one. And Lindsey Wilson Cumberland is another one that could really get interesting, I think.
That is a huge one. You've got the Battle of the St. Francis's.
St. Francis.
Sure.
Yeah, plural.
San Francesco's. Yeah, I think that's just about got it. McPherson, Kansas Wesleyan will be fun as well. You've got the two 40 attempt guys. Be a 3-2 game. These defenses. That'll be a fun one. Shout out Wayland Baptist. We don't talk Wayland Baptist. They've won 6 in a row now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
That was completely off the radar for me.
That was completely off the radar. They've won 6 in a row. They get to face Tex West at the end of the season to see if they can knock off Tex West there. Unfortunately, they lost to Ottawa early, which has taken that away. So one more thing that we want to dive into before we go is some of the bids here. And this was brought forward by one of our patrons, Zach. And I think he's got it. I think he's got where the bids are coming from, which is the first piece to figuring out who is going where. So he's got as his at-large bids, in no particular order, he notes, the Mid-South number 2. So whether that is Lindsey Wilson or Campbellsville at the end of the day, or maybe someone else if we get a little bit of chaos.
Bethel, maybe?
Bethel, maybe. It's going to be... I'm not completely sold on the fact that Mid-South might get a third in.
I feel like there's too much overlap.
Yeah.
To where that would happen. Because the third ranked team in this conference is probably going to have 3 losses.
Yeah. No. That would be a difficult one. The loser of the Morningside Dordt game.
Yep.
That's an at-large. The loser of College of Idaho Carroll.
Yeah.
All right, that's 3. McPherson.
Which is crazy, but like, yeah, the Bissell is absurd this year, man.
Stacked. Absolutely stacked. William Penn, second to Grandview.
Yeah.
The other side of the Heart would normally, in a good year, get in all three of Mid-Am, Baker, and Benny. It's not going to happen this year. They might only get into one. And so William Penn is the fortunate benefactor of that, and they've had a great season.
Mm-hmm.
And then Southeastern, which I am definitely solid on the fact that Kaiser has far and away just distanced themselves, but Southeastern's had a whale of a season. And then, kind of on the bubble, needs to make sure that they stay alive and have some style points. Montana Western had that skid in the middle of the season. They might still be able to pick up a berth, but as we said earlier, there are a couple of bid thieves that are lounging around, seeing if they can steal one. If Baker wins the Heart South, you have to have Benedictine in there.
Yeah, 100%.
So that'll.
And that I think Montana Western's just the odd guy out right now. Any team that surges will be bumping out the Bulldogs.
100%.
Yeah.
And then Zach's less confident on this than I am, but I think if Tex West ends up winning and you've got a one-loss Ottawa team, I think they put that one-loss Ottawa team in over Montana Western, even though Montana Western's 3 losses have been to Carroll, Montana Tech, and College of Idaho.
Yeah, I think that's just what it would end up being, especially in the fashion Ottawa's won games in this year.
Yeah.
A lot of points being put up.
Yep. So I think Zach, you have it right on the nail, hit the nail right on the head. Let's see. Derek,
hitting the nail on the head.
Yep. All right. Derek Smith asks, how is Friends getting a first place vote and not in the top 4?
I'm asking myself the same thing.
I
Derek.
can answer that question here. And it is due to the fact that Friends has a 6th place vote and 3 5th place votes. So they're on the low end of the rest of it. So even though that they have that first place vote, the 6th and the 3/5 are really killing them right now on the low end.
One day, Corey, we'll all be Friends Falcons.
Indeed. And running the triple option.
Mm-hmm.
When we all get to Wichita.
Yep.
What a day of rejoicing that will be. Oh, boy. The sacrilege. I love it.
Yeah.
But you know what else I love, Matt?
Would it be our wonderful patrons?
It's our patrons.
Oh, wow.
I was listening to a podcast, as I'm wont to do. And it's a one with 2 co-hosts similar to us, and the lead guy does the same thing with the incredibly out of left field. Speaking of, and I'm like going, this is exactly where I got it from.
It works?
It works. If I can figure out a way to make it work, I'm gonna dang well do it.
Well, I laugh every time you do it too, so I'm pretty much encouraging it. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. I just try to see how if I can actually pull it. But our patrons are the best, and it's $1 a month, and if you that's less than a Starbucks. It's less than anything you can get at McDonald's these days. It's the best value on the internet, I think. Better than sending it to the to that fans website. But our patrons are DSU Cone, Roger Meyer, Jeremy Vauble, Fred Christensen, Ace Swellen, Marty Seabolt, Kyle Gregory, Tyler Pierce, Justin Hoffman, Steve Speakman, Brian Shake, Julianne Shager, Nate Soapbeer, Stephen Cutler, Julie Lout, Tim Norton, Tim Burrow, Nathan Moore, Ryan, Jason Crawford, Todd Nick, Sean Chamberlain, Zach Lance, Casey Willison, Carol C. Suggs, Derek Lowers, Christopher Zwiener, Joey Breckel, Coca Nicholas, and Swede Nation. Matt, I think we're going to probably have, not this weekend, but next weekend, we'll do a Patreon live stream and go full on conspiracy theory guy, as we are wont to do. I would have had it this week with all of the conference championship games going on. It would have been a real fun stream as well. But I would much rather sit with our patrons and figure out all the matchups. That's way more fun. So
I'm inclined to agree. I had my mic muted.
Good job, you did. Matt. Yeah, happens from time to time.
I tried my best. I really did.
But that is it for another edition of the NAIF Ball live show. We'll see y'all next week with all the conference championship and division championship and playoff berth clinching action. Until then, we will see y'all on the Twitter feed.